So when I started Kaha, I wanted my website to be very interactive and very different in terms of design language. So I thought this has to be designed by a 14 years old. And I did find a 14 years old who's a conventional millennial. This happened in 2015. It is 2018. I've not met that guy. And trust me, I've tried my best. I get up at about 7. By 11ish, my energy levels are down. This guy gets up at 2 a.m. and he works until 4:35. His last year's check from from YouTube was $1.2 million. Okay. I'm glad that his parents are not mine, because if I was to wake up at 2 a.m., my parents would chuck me out. So that's a mind space, which is that let me do what I think is great, and let me just get myself committed to it. And if people come, great. If they don't, I don't care. And in the process, I will create something which is high disruptive value. So there's an unlearning process first. It's that honesty which needs to check in, and the honesty of where you want to take it. So the vision is very important, but the steps needs to be not the conventional ones, because that's where your dimension of time and space becomes very different. There is no timing to an office. I mean, any company that is thinking that we can have, 9 to 5, it will be 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So.
It's very hard to pin them down. Like their needs and their aspiration, they kind of shift quite a lot. I think one of the things the next generation, they need to feel very comfortable with what they can do. So we have to set up modules and even like workshops or even like exercises where they shine a little bit more. So then we'll use that.
But the concept of privacy, one of the underlying bold principle of millennials is there is no privacy. We can, in our current world, we can keep talking about, and we do all the right things. We've got GDPR. We make sure that my context is not misused. But I'm happy, and therefore when you speak about being recognized, why is Snapchat so big? I get the opportunity to be recognized in a funny way, and I want to share my creativity. I mean, most of us, if we were to write a business case on Snapchat, we would have not embarked on that journey, right? It's a $1 billion company.
It's very different when we were in school, and when I graduated from college, when I was from Temasek Poly and all that, we'll grab the first thing that we're offered, right? It's an agency, some studio come in like, we'll go for the first job interview, they offer us, we'll go. But students, like the new batch of students, are a bit more confident. At the same time also, they are a bit more overconfident sometimes, right? So they will, just hang around and just wait. And they won't say yes until they find this perfect offer from a dream job they're going to get. If they don't get some kind of like offer, they will just do what they do. They freelance a lot. We have students who freelance quite a fair bit, and they are happy because they're very independent. Or they start something with a friend, maybe do start a small little boutique studio, right? I think the conventional employment it's changing. And I think I read recently, like 56% of students who graduate, they want to do more internship rather than just go out and work. And the industry is doing the same thing. They're not going to hire you based on interviews, all right? They're going to hire you based on internship. They're going to hire you based on competitions.
To begin with, I feel it's a good thing, this whole internship thing, because now you get people coming in, a young lot coming in, when they are more trained. They've got this meta value, they've got this beta qualification, which is in addition to pure academics. So this whole internship, I think, rounds them up very, very well. So they are much bigger asset when they join. The second thing is that retaining the employees is going to be a challenge if you are in a conventional industry. So the fact that you are in an extremely new age domain and you're throwing challenges at them which therefore allows them to discover their own identity, get their own stamp, and put that out, is the only way you can retain them.
I'm with IBM, and for us it's been really positive, especially with, we had some interns who were 16 years old, came through a short program in the summer program, and I think for them it was really useful, and also for us, and a bit eye-opening on how quickly they picked up technology, number one, and how much they embraced sort of this open source culture. So it wasn't for them a matter of, oh, I've got some sort of secret knowledge. I've got a skill and I'm building that skill and I should share my knowledge around. So I think that's also been the biggest shift within the tech space, is that people expect information to be on GitHub and accessible, and you're differentiated on what you do with it versus what you have.
So you're talking about anger. Was that anger kind of instrumental in creativity for you, in the creative process?
What did I get myself into? Okay, anyways.
We're paying attention. So.
It was 1997, yeah, so it's a lot of Nirvana and all that kind of music. So the Seattle music scene was very big. I don't know, man. I mean, like, the kind of work, typography was different. The kind of schools that's popping out in the US, in the UK is very different. The kind of like aesthetics and the sensibility is very different, I guess. So it kind of like, you know, there's a lot of experimentation that leads to a lot of new school of thoughts and all that. I think it's worthwhile to kind of revisit. Yeah.
So I just want to know, do you see that anger in students today? Or have they all become so cool and chill?
We don't really see that as much anger. They want to establish some kind of identity, you know, and they want to have that identity kind of like seamlessly present in their work, which is not always easy sometimes. So, yeah, I guess that is where the difference lies.
We recently launched a product which brought in the real life with the FIFA game. And we decided not to release an app. We decided this whole thing to be completely dynamic through the server. The kind of people who jumped into that project from our team was unbelievable. There were 3 guys out of a team of 45, but in the end, all 45 guys were contributing to that project to a point that each one of them, and these are people who don't understand the analytics and the performance, each one of them knew on hour to hour how the user were engaging, because that was thrill. It was almost like playing the FIFA match where you pass on the ball and then you decide, oh, let me try and backflip it and now score a goal. So each one was doing that because it was completely random. It was completely dynamic. And that's the fun of creating these kind of technology interfaces. So coming back to IoT, I think it is coming at just the whole technology piece together kind of makes it relevant. Where it is going to be transformative. The vision of smart cities is going to get so deeply seeded into our lives in the next, and very fast, in the next 18 to 24 months. It will allow us to lead a much more connected, much more healthier, and the term that I use is democratizing of health, where I will be very I will be very conscious about my everyday health and the rest of the elements that will flow with it. We'll move away from packaging something in a very serious way. So if you were to look at OS, if you were to look at just the UI design right now, you will see that the UI design is getting very lively. There are a lot more colors, splashes, animations. I was also very impressed with the way compression technology has gone, so that more and more GIFs can be accommodated into an app. I remember, 7, 8 years back, putting a small animation into an application would bloat the size of the application. Now you have huge compression technology which allows you to bring in more and more of those fun elements. So even when you're talking of something very serious as payment, if you were to envelop it into fun, again, an example I'll give is, we launched a small feature which said, and we piloted it in India around FIFA, which said, hey, you've been sitting in your office for a while, time to go for a beer. And click here to get an offer. And the way that whole thing was packaged, I think we converted a lot of non-beer drinkers to take that offer. So life is not too serious, and it doesn't need to be taken seriously. Even important stuff like finance and health, if they are packaged in a nice way, it will move faster into seeping into everyday life.
I think what both of you have said is not only interesting but also very significant. I think the problem would be parents. A lot of our parents, I think, need to be sort of either re-educated or somehow gently persuaded that what their young are doing, even at school, is nowadays not going to be consistent with parental expectations. And this causes a lot of stress because even the young at SMU is a very radical sort of place to learn, often tell us that if there's one big hurdle they have, it is the parents. And because the parents very often control the purse strings, they feel obliged. Also the whole idea of filial piety and all of that. But I think once they convince the parents that they are on a good route, or route as the Americans would say, then I think they actually do let their spirit go free. And once they do that, what they create and what they come up with is absolutely fascinating.
One of the interesting facets, I was talking to a professor in MIT, is the role of the university, because parents draw their comfort from the school and the teachers. And if the school is promoting the whole idea of entrepreneurship, free spirit, risk-taking in a more channelized fashion, it is kind of a rooting, a comforting factor for parents. So somehow I think the schools, especially the undergrads and postgrads, have to start creating those curriculums which can give those comforts, not just allow the free spirit to children, but also have these comforts to the parents.
I think what resonated with me was just a different way of thinking about the typical problems we talk about. Because in technology we talk about business challenges, business solutions, hills, overcoming those. But this took I think a different view of it, which is kind of eye-opening, about looking at the people who are both practicing it and who will use these kinds of technologies in a different way.
Your sessions are always very current and an interesting mix of ideas, and I think I got a lot from the Lasalle lecturer. I think that he puts us in the perspective of the students to our attention. I think that's important because these are our future workers, like rightfully addressed during the forum. And also they will be the people who are working when we're retired. So we better see how we can help to groom the next generation.
There was always discussions about millennials and millennial thinking, millennials at the workplace, and kind of how they're in control, basically, and the organizations have to be flexible toward them. So I find it fascinating. I think the customization angle, I think they're so used to things happening so fast, and so I think that's interesting.
I came in with a different set of expectations. I thought it was going to be a conventional look at design thinking principles, but I came away with a very rich understanding of how design thinking can really be applied in the real world across different industries. So brilliant, really. The 5 panelists, all from different walks of life. So the applications varied, and in a sense I came away having benefited from the inputs of the panelists as well as from the audience. And so you have a much broader perspective of what design thinking is.
One of the most important things that I liked here was how to get the youngsters on board, how to motivate them. This is something which is interesting. Parents, how to get parents to support.